Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be showing you this card again. Now some of you may have seen this card online in my Facebook group Paper Crafting with Paul, or in a Nitwit Collection neighbourhood, because it's a Nitwit Collection kit I used here, the farmer's market one, and it seems that people like this card, and I said I'd do a tutorial. And if you already follow my channel, you'll have seen I did do a tutorial for this, and I used the Poppies collection. But when I did it, halfway through, I realised I'd actually done it a different way. And on this one, I had the posts going vertical, like that, in the front. And then on this one, the vertical post somehow ended up behind. And it wasn't until I was halfway through I realised I'd done it, and you know, it still works. It still looks like a fence, but the technique for making it like this is slightly different. So I thought I'd come back today and show you again how to make it, but with the original way. So to save some time, I've already cut out my pieces. And I did manage to get them all, again, out of the one sheet of cardstock. And if you want to know how I got out from one sheet, I'll link the video I did, the original one for this card, in the description below, so that you can follow it and get all these pieces from the one sheet of A4. If you're not too worried, I'll give you the measurements now. It's 8 3/4 by 5 inches for the card base, and once we've scored in things, it'll fit into a 5 by 7 envelope. Then I have 3 vertical struts. These all measured 1 inch wide. So I said in the original video, I made this so the measurements are super easy and so simple to put together. The height needed to be more than 6 inches. So in my original, I did them at 6 exactly. So you get just a little bit of a triangle poking on. In the second one, I did them 6 1/4, so they came up a little bit more. So if you have a look, I wasn't quite so keen on 6 because the triangle started exactly where this flap here sort of meets. So that's why in the second one I added that 1/4 inch. But of course you could go up another 1/4 inch, you could go 6 1/2 if you want a higher post at the top. To get the triangles, because it was 1 inch, I just marked the top at 1/2 inch, came down each side of 3/4 and cut them. Now I didn't use a ruler to make them tight because it's a picket fence, so if it's a bit wobbly it doesn't matter. And then just to make it stand out, I've inked the edges, just gone around with my applicator with some frayed burlap. I thought that was quite a nice colour, and it really does make your fence stand out a little bit. It gives it some definition. So it's 3 pieces there, 1 inch by 6 1/4 with that tapered edge. Don't bother with the measurements if you don't, just cut them. And then you needed 4 struts going across. These measured 5 inches, same as our card, by 1 inch as well. I said the measurements were super easy. So, my super easy method uses my scoreboard to do all my measurements. So let's bring our card base in, and the 5 inches down the side, the 8 3/4. So if I do it at 7, what I've got is my 5 by 7 panel there. Let's put it aside just to score. Get a nice sharp crease. There we go. And if you wanted to ink the edges, you can. Now in my original one, I cut the papers 1/4 inch shorter than the panel size. And the same on the inside, so it was 4 3/4 by 6 3/4, so we had a little bit of a border. On my second version, and what I'm doing today is covering it exactly. So if you're going to do the original one, you do want to ink your edge, otherwise you've got that stark white. But today, I don't need to bother, but I would do it with my papers because it just gets rid of that white core from when you've trimmed your paper. So this piece now is 1 3/4 by 5, so it's going to fit exactly there. So I'm just going to use some glue just so I can move it around a little bit. And place it on. So the papers I'm using today are Sunset Dreams by Nitwit Collections. So this was one of the backing papers, and I just added a little butterfly there just to break it up a little bit. And then I've used one of the journal cards. It's like an ephemera card, and it sort of fitted perfectly. I just had to trim off a little bit from each side to make it 5 by 7. So for the inside, in most of my cards, I've gone for quite a dark colour. So I've gone for the dark green from that kit rather than the pale green, just so that it shows through a little bit better. Something pale, you sort of lose a little bit of the definition from the fence. Now see, I've cut it a little bit short, so I'm not too worried. So what I'll do, I'll take my frayed burlap and just tie it in. What you can do as well, if you're worried about getting the right size, is cut it too big, glue it down, and then you can just turn it over and trim off the excess if you don't like your measurements. Let's have a little bit more. And let's glue this down. So you can see I'm doing all my base first. The backing panel doesn't matter, but you do have to put that small flap one on before you make your fence, because your vertical struts, the pointy bits, glue on top. So you can't do that afterwards. So let's place this in. Check it's not, yeah, it's a little bit long. So that's all I'm going to do now is just trim off the excess. There we go. And let's just give it a little ink in just to hide that edge. There we go. So that's our card base all done. So it's time now to do our fence. So I'm going to keep this one in front of me this time to make sure I do it the right way. So I said I had an easy method, and I said the scoreboard is going to do most of my work for me. I've got some double-sided tape just to keep things in place for now, but glue will be my option. I'm going to turn it so my card is upside down. And this is exactly the same as I did in the first video. Vertical struts were correct. I'm going to, a bit of white edge, I think it just slipped to me when I was moving. There we are, it's hidden now. I'm going to take one of my struts and I'm going to put a piece of tape in this little triangle area. Now you don't want to go past where that flap goes, so keep it high up, because this is only just going to keep it there for now. So when I put it down, I can now put glue, throw in the top. If I put some white cardstock here, for you to see a bit better, I'm going to put the glue just below that line and around my triangle bit. It's a bit too much there, there we go. So you don't want to go above that line, because otherwise you're going to glue your card shut. And I'm going to take it, flip it over, and I'm lining up these two bottom bits with 1/4 inch. So I'm coming in 1/4 inch from the side of my card. So it's going to be 1/4 and 1 1/4. Because I got those 1 inch bits, it's making my measurements nice and easy. And I'm placing it down. I'm not worried about it being too straight. It's a fence after all, and some of them are a bit off. So we're going to do the same. I'm going to put it this side. Just going to put some glue. I'll flip it over. So this time, this is my 5 inch. I'm going to come into 4 3/4. So that means it's going to be between the 3 3/4 and 4 3/4. And place it down. See, I said the measurements were nice and easy. And we're going to do this one as well. And this is going to go in the center. So my center point is 2 1/2. So 1/2 inch each side would be between the 2 and the 3. So you can see how the scoreboard really does help keep everything in place. So between the 2 and the 3. There we go. Just grab my lid. So we have our vertical struts. So that's exactly the same as I showed you in my first video. But now we're going to do it the original way. So in my first one, I glued them on top, but it's a bit slightly different how I'm going to put this together now. So what we're going to do is we're going to place our card sideways now, and to make it look like a true picket fence, rather than putting on the bottom like I've seen in a lot of videos, we're going to raise it up 1/4 inch. So it's going to go to here. So keeping my inked edge up, this is where I went wrong last time. I flipped it over. I'm just going to put a little dot of tape in the middle of this strut. Okay, so that's just going to keep it there for now, but it doesn't give me the coverage I want. So what I'm going to do is not going in line with that line, but just within, I'm going to do a little square. Same here, we're going to do a little square, put a little blob in the middle because I haven't got the tape there, and do another square here. Now, I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to line this between the 1/4 and 1 1/4 inch marks and fold it over. So now, just like my original one, those vertical struts are in the foreground. So this time, we finished at 1 1/4, so I'm going to move and make a 1/4 inch gap. So I'm going to move this up to 1 1/2 and 2 1/2. Oh, let's close it first. 1 1/2 and 2 1/2 with it closed, because that's going to give me where I'm going to put my tape. take off the backing. And so by having here, it's giving me that guide. So I don't need any pencil marks. I don't need tape temporarily holding things in place. Right. So I've got my piece. So I'm going to lift it up. So remember now, 1.5. So there's my 1.5 and 2.5. Go. And we're just going to do the same again. So we're going to move up to 2 3/4 this time. So I'm just staying just within those 2 lines. So 2 3/4 and 4 3/4. And so the last one will be between the 4 and the 5. Go. So between 4 and 5. There we are. And if it's not perfectly straight with you coming down, it doesn't matter. It adds to that fence look. Right. So there we have our fence complete. And what you find by adding the glue in those squares, it's actually added quite a bit of strength to it. And yet we've still got that see-through element there. And you'll see the darker colours coming through. So let's brighten it up. So in the original, I used the farmer's market. We had all this fruit and veg. This time, because we've got these flowers in this kit, let's go for that. So I do want to add, and I forgot to bring a pencil. So what I would have done normally is put it in place, turn it over, and marked where to avoid with the glue. I think we're going to have to improvise, so let's have a look. If I place it there, let me use my scoring tool. I will go around just parts of it. So I know now to put the glue inside these bits. There's a bit here. We had some blobs there as well. There we go. So I'm going to just glue my first one on flat. Let me get inside that embossed line. And a bit out. There we go. And because this was a digital paper, what I did was I printed the same image again, but this time I cut out just the 4 middle ones. So we're going to add some foam tape. let's just place it on top. And if you've got some little white edges from your fussy cutting, I just take my frayed burlap, and I'd already done it on these two. There we go. And it just sort of takes away that white raw edge. Another half. The full piece of that is just a bit too much. And oh, it's that way. So we've now got 3 levels, and I did place that butterfly on there, and I printed off, just copy and pasted off to the side and printed another one. So it's exactly the same size, which we can put on there. But I thought, why not put it somewhere else as well and have 2 butterflies? So my original intention was to sort of make that a bit more 3D. But let's, because we've got something bottom left, let's put something top right. Where should we put it? Ooh. There should be fine. And there we have our split lattice done the original way I was going to show you. But, you know, there was nothing wrong with my first video. Just I wasn't quite happy and wanted to redo it for you. So there we go. Now we have 3 different versions for you to see. So the original one was using Farmer's Market. This one using poppies. You need to have a look at this one. Lovely kit. It's actually the one I use for my wedding stuff. And Sunset Dreams. So the same style card, but each of them looks totally different. So you can see it works with anything. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this version as well as the first one I did, please again give me that thumbs up. Writing some comments below really does help the channel to grow. Okay, so please just write what you think or what you're hoping to do. And if you do have a go, please share photos of yours with me in my Facebook group called Paper Crafting with Paul. If you just type Paper Crafting with Paul into Facebook search, it'll pop up. If not, if you're finding it difficult to find, have a look in the description below. I'll add a direct link for you just to click on and have a look. If you haven't done so yet, please hit that subscribe button. It really does help me a lot. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this card tutorial, and I'll see you all again very soon.